Ladies and gentlemen, we have another episode of The Goblin and The Ghoul. Got a great show planned ahead of you. Today, we got ADHD, Donald Trump, BattleBots news, scumbag of the week. Folks, it's truly about to be one of the greatest shows of all time. And finally, it happened, boys. They got our boy, Donnie T, Mr. 45, as I like to call him, really. My president, my true president, the funniest president, Mr. Big Massive Dumps. Yeah, they popped him.
Big Massive Dumps. Has he bragged about the shits he takes?
Dude, there's an awesome clip where he's like going off on this interview and he's like, they call him dumps. Big Massive Dumps.
Hell yeah. I love that.
No way. Like as trolling him or wait, I don't get it.
I don't really know the context and I don't care to find out. I think it's just funny soundbite.
Yeah, he's probably just talking about just some shitty area of the country. He just did the Big Massive Dump.
It could have been like a ballot dump for the rigged election. I'm not quite sure.
That's a good one.
But who knows the most about this case? I really don't know that much.
I can start with a high level overview. I just got the basics like from headlines and stuff.
Okay.
Well,
yeah, I think I know a decent amount, but go ahead.
So then maybe you can fill in some gaps if anything I missed. So from what I understand, he's facing 34 counts related to quote unquote business fraud for payments to Stormy Daniels. He had an affair with Stormy Daniels in 2006. When he decided to run for president around 2016, paid her about $130,000 to cover it up. The issue here, apparently this was coming from campaign funds, which is, I mean, I guess on paper, a big no-no, because one thing I know about an industry that has a lot of integrity is how money is moved in politics. So they really don't like this overall. So I guess one thing here, no, I'll save that for later, but that's the kind of overview is he gave money, he fucked Stormy Daniels. Apparently she said it was just like, that was it. They just had consensual sex. It was normal. Obviously he had a wife. Mm-hmm. So ethically you could, talk about that. But from a legal standpoint, the things he's getting charged with are related to the $130,000 that he gave her out of the campaign fund.
There's also some other hush money payments that are on there. Same thing from campaign funds. To add to that, there's also, of those 34 counts, a lot of that we don't know yet because it hasn't been released. That's just what's been gathered thus far. Things will come out once it becomes public after more of the court proceedings go through.
Yeah. And for anyone, when they watch this looking for a soon to be update on this, don't hold your breath. I think it's till August of this year that that Trump's attorneys have to file motions in the case. So it looks like if there is going to be any sort of trial, which unlikely, we can get into that in a minute if you want, but it's not going to be until next year, likely. Sorry. Which is interesting.
I was called by the biggest dumps. They call them dumps, big, massive dumps.
Wow. Mr. Trump.
That's pretty funny.
That was good.
So yeah, that's the highs and lows. One interesting thing to note about this is you always got to look at the timing of when these things come up. New York law states that a vast majority of nonviolent crime has a 5-year statute of limitations, but that 5-year clock could be paused for quote unquote extenuating circumstances, which means literally anything. So that's already one thing that if this were to get taken seriously, that they'd already have to kind of finagle some things because it's outside of the statute of limitations for most non-legal crimes.
Interesting. In my opinion, I think probably nothing will happen or close to nothing because of his status as the president. I think that lends him to a lot of advantages and being, such a wealthy individual, apparently, allegedly on paper. I just don't see it likely that Trump would go to jail. And if he did, I think that would only bolster his supporters. Like I was already looking at the free Trump merchandise and was thinking about maybe getting into that, maybe parlay that into the podcast, get some free Trump merch, sell it on eBay for pennies and be like that guy in the Andrew Callahan documentary selling political, campaign stuff just to fuel the fire and make some money off of it.
Oh yeah, you could post up on the side of the road somewhere with some unlicensed free Trump merch and make a killing if you need to make a quick buck for sure. But no, to your point, I completely agree. To him actually facing jail time, it's almost guaranteed that it's not going to happen. All these charges, the max sentence is 4 years in prison, and there's no minimum sentence required. And since he doesn't have a record prior to this, which means it's extremely unlikely, especially given who he is.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about when your average, upper middle class or even like middle class white kid gets a DUI and they don't ever get any trouble, you can get like 3 of them practically, depending on the state you live in. I don't think the president, Donald Trump, is going to face jail time.
Yeah.
If anything, it would be like a goofy, like maybe he goes in for like 20 days. But like, I don't even see that happening. I think they would throw it out, give him a fine, home detention, maybe at the worst, which wouldn't be that bad.
Yeah, I think that absolute max is what they would do with that.
There's almost no chance. I agree that he'll go to jail. Most important thing to me, other than him being president, is it's white collar crime. White collar crime, the way it's set up, especially in that state, no chance you're seeing real jail time. But if by some grace of God he gets convicted of a felony, because they're all felony charges, he can no longer run for president, which would be fan-fucking-tastic. Do I think that will happen? Maybe, but more importantly, will it happen before he can run again? I think that chance, all they have to do is delay it until inauguration, right?
That's what I'm curious about, is being a convicted felon, it stops you from running, not from actually being president.
No, you cannot be president. You cannot be president.
Yeah. Got it.
You're officially out of eligibility as a president.
Okay.
Yeah, almost like if you're born in a different country, it's at the same kind of qualification level.
Yeah. So hypothetically, if this goes into election year, which it very well may, and then he wins the election, then gets convicted of a felony, then the vice president would become president?
That's a great question. I wish we knew. I don't know the answer to that.
There's no way to find out either.
It's never been done before.
Yeah, there's no legal precedent. I'm very curious, because also, how funny would it be if he got elected, he knew he was going to get convicted and like changed the law through an executive order or something?
That would be fire.
That's definitely what he would try to do.
I would so respect that. So one thing you mentioned earlier, T, that's important. So the street cred thing, if you were to actually get in trouble, yes, if you were to actually step foot in jail, it would do even more. But I think just the fact that this is already a mainline news story is already giving him the same effective street cred. Especially one demographic I was thinking about was everyone that was there for the January 6th stuff and either knows somebody or is someone themselves that got in trouble. I mean, talk about relatability. If he never needed to nail down that demographic a little bit more and people related to that, I mean, they're brothers in arms, dude, behind bars.
100%. I was just trying to find some of the free Trump merch. There's some like people that have made like remixed, like hard ass mixtapes, with free Donald Trump, like that type of vibe, it's just very funny already. And kind of speaking of politics, this is kind of an aside, but I'd really love to get some of our buddies in here to have a heated political debate, because I'm in this group chat with former guest of the show, Matt Willigman and Basir. And dude, it is Fox News versus CNN every day of the week with those two. I would love to maybe have our first live stream be a heated politics debate mediated by us three, right? And they just go at it. I think that could be really funny and maybe a new kind of political segment of the show. We don't need to change the name. It would be just like Goblin and The Ghoul Live. I just think that would be really funny to see some of our friends just go at it.
Dude,
I think that's a good idea.
That's one thing the world needs more of is bros that are like not super educated arguing about politics. I'm super pumped about, but I also like the mediator factor, and we should do like a hilarious prize. Like each one gets a clear winner.
Oh, dude, a prize is sick.
Yeah,
a prize would be sick.
Like around the horn style, where you get points for like good points, and then the tally up at the end.
Eli, I think it's got to be some terrible gift card to one of the Man's Gotta Eat restaurants, like Hardee's or but like $15 or like $12.
No, I like making it random, like $12.30. It makes you think that it's a gift card that like a $20 gift card that you spend a little bit of.
Yeah, that would be really funny.
Oh man. Oh, one thing too I wanted to highlight about this case. Okay, so this is about money being moved around in unethical ways or illegal ways, whatever you want to classify it, specifically within a campaign fund. I mean, is this not going to open some other door? Like, do you think Trump, as vindictive as he is not going to be like, well, look at Hillary's campaign fund, look at Joe Biden's campaign fund, like, and also this is only $130,000. That is a drop in the fucking bucket in terms of a campaign fund. Okay, so I wanted to add a little bit of context here. So $130,000. So Sam Bankman-Fried, one thing that he was well known for, he was the second largest donor to the Democratic Party in 2022. He donated upwards of $40 million to the Democratic Party. and he
Through
was
a super PAC, right?
Yeah, and he was the second largest donor. So I mean, that means there are tens of hundreds of millions pumping through these major campaigns, and this was $130,000. Do you not? I'm not saying anything's going to happen to that. One, it just like this is pretty small, but like, do you not think that this could possibly bring, and it probably won't, but it should bring highlights to like the way that money is spent in other possible political campaigns? Like they're obviously just
you would hope,
Trump.
You would hope, but no, that's
something I thought about.
That's really funny you bring that up. Is there's a very similar kind of story happening in F1 last season where Red Bull exceeded the cost cap that is now in place, that teams can only spend a certain amount. And they had an accounting error where they spent like a couple $100,000 too much on their catering. And all the other teams are like, you guys fucking cheated. You had way too many burritos in Saudi Arabia. And it's just really funny to see that happen. Gabrielle, welcome to the show. We are live.
Hi.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, we're happy to have you. Eli, would you give our kind guest an introduction?
Yeah, sure. So as we are several gentlemen who've had our own run-ins with attention deficit hyperactive disorder, we wanted to have somebody on who, if people remember, I'm in a clinical psychology PhD program, and this is one of my coworkers, same class. Originally hails from Detroit, Michigan suburbs, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. I do want you to give us a little more career history because I can't remember what you did between undergrad and graduate school. So I'll turn that on you. We wanted to have a in-training ADHD expert to give some hot takes, some lukewarm takes, and some almost boiling takes on ADHD and ADHD and medication. No cool takes, yeah.
No, zero cool takes.
And by the way, when he says we've all had run-ins with ADHD, it's mostly just like we took Adderall when we needed to study or like have Adderall scripts now. So like,
when I needed to study, not every day. Yeah. Except Sundays is my day off because I'm like, you know what? It's the Lord's day.
You don't take Adderall on the Lord's day. That is
Jesus did not take enough.
Jesus never was taking speed or
who knows? Get all that work done.
He got a lot of stuff done.
He was talking. He was a talker. So maybe
he was walking.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, that's when you get talking when you're on Addy.
Yeah.
But I will say, or some people don't though. Some people like really get really quiet and they don't want to talk. And they're like, I'm busy cleaning my room and doing all my taxes and stuff.
That's the people that actually should be on Adderall versus the people that just like get high from the speed.
Yeah, right.
Like, tending to your ADHD.
Yeah.
So I guess a little background about me. I went to undergrad in Michigan and I graduated in 2018. And then I worked at a preclinical research facility, which is basically they did all the drug testing for pharmaceutical companies there for safety and efficacy. So like it was like a giant rat lab, essentially. It's like, are these drugs safe? Yeah. And then we're going to write up the report and show it to the FDA, and then we're going to get our drug approved. So I worked there for 3 years, and then I am here now. And I'm interested in ADHD and wanted to study it because I have ADHD. My sister has it. I'm pretty sure my mom and my dad have it. It's like it's a very interesting life experience, and I just wanted to study it more. And I want to help people with ADHD with my PhD and understand how people with ADHD live. And I don't know. That's basically the general gist of it. I don't know if that was like.
No, that definitely. When did you decide that you wanted to study ADHD specifically? Like, did you know you want to do psychology first and then that, or like always kind of know that?
That's a good question. So when I was an undergrad, I was like, I have a lot of pressure from my family to become a doctor. That's just like my family. They're all, they just were like, you got to make money, like you got to just go be a doctor and that's it. That's all that matters. Like whatever. And I was like, yeah, that sounds great. And then I tried to take physics and that didn't work out. So I was like, let's do a little career switch, right? But I always was interested in psychology, like a lot of people. And I didn't know I wanted to study ADHD, but I just loved psychology in college, and I graduated because I couldn't decide if I wanted to go to like grad school or not. So I just was like, I need to work because I have to work and I can't work in like a psychology lab because the pay was so horrible. I mean, Eli, didn't you work in a lab like after undergrad for a second?
Yeah, I managed a lab during undergrad, worked in another lab during, and then managed a lab after undergrad.
Okay.
And it worked like 2 or 3 other jobs at the same time.
Yeah, it's like you're $12 an hour. I'm like, no.
So that was a chaotic era, cleaning the hospitals at night.
cleaning hospitals,
Oh my God.
bartending,
Dude.
doing all kinds of shit. Yeah.
We'll have to get into
Jeez.
those stories at some point because some of those characters that were running around that hospital in particular
Oh,
was
That is
insane.
a great reminder. I got to tell an old boss story and then a Nancy story, but back to Gabrielle.
I'll
Yeah.
make a note.
Thank you.
Yep.
Oh, I can't wait to hear.
I'll put that on the
Yeah.
docket.
So I was like, at one point, I realized that something about ADHD too is that with women, it's really underdiagnosed because we're not running around when we're children like men or little boys do, like at this, just like Sonic the Hedgehog in class. And of course, not all boys are doing that with ADHD, but that's just kind of what it looks like. And for girls, it's more of this like daydreaming, not paying attention to anything. They're really messy. They don't remember to bring home their homework. And so I actually got diagnosed with ADHD later in life because no one identified it in my family. And then we're like, oh, that's why you never did your homework one time. And, your backpack was like really, all the shit was scrunched at the bottom. And so then I was like, oh my God, like that's so crazy that no one knew. And it made my life, I guess, better. Now I understand myself. And so that's why I wanted to study it. So it came a little bit later. I didn't know I was interested in ADHD like when I was an undergrad. It was
Interesting.
Yeah, that makes sense. Are you like focused on a specific age group or just kind of everybody?
I'm interested right now in like young adults, but I do work with children a lot, and I do study the younger children, and I'm interested in like fine motor skills and ADHD and like handwriting, and because there's like some evidence that their handwriting, people with ADHD, like their handwriting is just like horrible, and it takes them a while to get better at it, and for kids, like it's a big deal. And it doesn't seem like it's like, oh, handwriting, like whatever. But for kids, handwriting helps you read. It's like the repeated writing of letters helps you recognize those letters better because, when you write the letter A, it doesn't look the same every time you write the letter A. And that invariance helps you recognize letter A in like text when you read it. So that's kind of what my lab does, is this reading and handwriting link. And so, it kind of affects their academics in that way, where they're a little bit slower to learn how to read. And and it's related to some math stuff too, which I think is interesting. So that's kind of what I'm focusing on now, but I'm also interested in like, I do research on like note-taking stuff with ADHD. So like, are people with ADHD, should they take type notes or handwritten notes, or what's easier for them to do and learn and engage with the class? Because a lot of people with ADHD are going to college more than ever. So more people with ADHD, even if the diagnoses are increasing, are going to college, but they're still not doing as well as their peers. And there's all these, available, I guess, interventions for them. Like, of course, there's medication available, which is the number one kind of intervention, but also like disability services, and they're not really using them. So anyway, it's like a whole thing. So I study note taking because it's like, what if we can just make this easier for them by allowing them to use their laptop? And that's not something that like I seem to have an issue with, but I wasn't allowed to use laptops to take notes in my undergrad. So
yeah, no, that makes sense. So it sounds like what your work on now is more like helping kids manage that have been diagnosed, not necessarily as much on like the diagnoses side of the house.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's more like non-clinical. The only clinical part is with ADHD.
Okay. Got it. That makes sense.
But we do study and learn a shit ton about like diagnosis and diagnosis criteria. So even though she may not like study that specifically, it's ingrained in our program to like think about those concepts, the strategies. We're literally in an assessment class right now that like focuses on that specifically.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
that makes sense, because that's an interesting one. And you highlighted what I'm about to say by saying you and your sister, you said both have ADHD, but your parents not as much. Like so that's like, you're good. So that's like coming from a generation where, back in the day, no one ever got diagnosed with that. It was more like just a hyper kid versus like it's actually being looked at a little bit more now. Yeah.
So people are getting identified more now and diagnosed more often. So like the ADHD diagnoses generally have increased a lot in the past like 10 years. Right. With boys, it hasn't gone up a whole lot, but with girls, it's gone up a lot. So it's like, this is a huge, thank you. It's my chicken. So I can give a live reading of it as well. It's the Dave's hot chicken. So anyway, diagnosis has gone up a lot because we can identify it better, but something that's kind of interesting is like, there are people, we can identify it more so we can diagnose more people, But there are also, you know, a lot of loopholes and things like that. Not that like I have a positive outlook, and it's like, yeah, more people are getting the help they need, but there are people who can easily get an ADHD diagnosis and Adderall prescription and sell it and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah.
So
I got diagnosed personally like 2 years ago, I think, because it was during COVID and I thought working was really hard. And I'm pretty sure I probably have ADHD, but you know, it helps me out a lot. And I kind of don't really think about it too often, but it is funny because sometimes I'm like, damn, do I need to be taking this medicine? Like, am I too reliant on it? Because sometimes I just like taking it in the morning with my coffee because it makes me feel fucking great. And I don't know if that's like what you're supposed to be feeling if you actually have Adderall, because I've never related to the fact when people say, if you actually have ADHD, it makes you feel normal. You don't feel it at all. And that's just not been my story. So I don't know if I just have a lesser kind, or I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think that people kind of, I don't know. I feel like people kind of exaggerate where they say like, because I feel similar to you. If I take it, Adderall is Adderall. No matter who takes it, it's going to. But what really helps is if people aren't like, are having a hard enough time like doing the dishes, keeping their house clean, doing homework. It's like, it really helps me do that. Versus if somebody's taking it and they're already very organized and they're like, I'm just off the wall crazy. Like, I just clean my floors because their entire house is already clean, and that, you know what I mean? So it's like that person. So that's, I feel like people say like, you're supposed to just feel like, it's like, no, it's a stimulant. It's like freaking, like, it's still an amphetamine. You're still your heart rate is gonna go up. It's not like it has the same effect on people. It's just, what's different is with ADHD, it's like this very clear goal in mind. Like, I need to do my homework because I haven't done my homework in like a week, and this is going to help me do this.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Because I feel like there's
totally.
I just feel like my brain gets quiet, and I just feel like people are lying. Well, not
they're
lying, but I think they're exaggerating, because I'm like, it's an amphetamine. It's like,
no, it does, because I'm in the same boat where around that same time I went to the doctor and got an Adderall script. Yeah, I'll speak more about that in a second, but I definitely didn't have to get diagnosed with ADHD. I just kind of asked my doctor for it, and he was like, yeah, that's cool. But
that's amazing.
I know, right? And I take it like, I'd say I take it most days for work, like 3 to 5 days, just depending on the week. But with that being said, the idea, if I have a kid down the road and when he's like 9 years old, the doctor says, hey, he definitely has ADHD, or he or she definitely has ADHD. We want to get him hooked up on Adderall every day. That still kind of makes me nervous a little bit, just because I've taken, am I crazy in thinking that, or like, and I'm sure that you get that pushback from parents, or, you know, generally that pushback is given a lot from parents in the field too.
Yeah.
Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I have a lot of thoughts on that, actually, because it's
go.
Oh, well, I'm going to write a whole 30-page paper on this exact question over the summer.
Wow.
So this is like a big thing that I think about, where it's like, medication is very helpful, right? It is, the goal of amphetamines is to make something that isn't rewarding to you more rewarding. So you can do it as I guess in a general term, like reward, right?
Interesting.
So it makes it more salient to you, right? And that's why people like hyper focus on something, because it's just right in front of them. And that could be with somebody with ADHD or not ADHD. It like makes you just zoom in on it. But for an adult, we kind of know what to prioritize. We know, okay, I'm taking this Adderall because my house is so fucking dirty right now, and I need to like remember to pay my bills. You know what to do. A 9-year-old, there's a lot of behavioral things you can try to do to help them know what's important behaviorally without giving them medication, if that makes sense. Like, for example, so it's like when you're 9, I didn't know how to like take a piece of paper out of my backpack and give it to my mom. Like, I forged my mom's signature every time because I just like my signature looks like my mom's signature because I'm like,
that's funny.
I mean, I forgot.
Yeah.
But, like, those are things that you don't think that you have to teach kids how to do, and you have to reinforce it and be like, good job, bud. Like, you know, and so they're like, oh wow, this is easier for me because now I know what to do, and it's set up in a way where it's easier for me to do it. And this is like what we do in therapy with Eli. But then we can talk about Adderall. Maybe if that doesn't help, or maybe we just need a little boost, but Adderall should only be, or some kind of low dose of amphetamine, in my opinion, should only be if like nothing is sticking, like they're trying to do all these behavioral things, and you just need a little boost to make it a little bit more rewarding so they remember to do it. But it should not be long-term fix. because we don't know what the long-term effects of Adderall are yet. We don't have a lot of people who've been taking Adderall like for a very long time. Like, there's a lot of people with ADHD are like, I have to take this for the rest of my life. And that's, I don't know. There's this idea that we have a dopamine deficit in ADHD. Like, we just don't have enough dopamine in our system to make things rewarding for us. And there's some evidence there. And I'm going to look into
that. Like, there's a big, just society as a whole. I feel like everyone being on their cell phones all the time definitely has an impact on that. Just like the instant gratification you get from seeing things on there and always being able to go to that when you're bored. I feel like that definitely has a part of that. And so I know I love being the test tube generation, like the guinea pig generation. Like, we're figuring out what vapes do to people, what Adderall does to people long term. I can't wait to be a part of some long lawsuits down the road.
Like,
my God.
The Elf Bar class action lawsuit of like 2030 is going to be so awesome.
Yeah, dude. Jewel 2.0.
It's like, I'm so excited to be a part of this.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
I just want to join. But that's a really good point you brought up about being hyper-focused on something. So I've noticed that when I started taking Adderall 2 years ago, I've been able to like maintain my creative hobbies like video making, running a YouTube channel, doing that like multiple times a week, when in the past I would get into it but then would quickly lose motivation. So I find that Adderall really helps me like stick to a plan and be consistent in my life, like doing the dishes, doing the laundry, and I really don't even notice the negative side effects anymore, like not being able to sleep unless I take an XR at like in the PM, which I never do. So
XR and PM don't mix. But I do, going back to what you said about like basically the therapy first approach, especially in younger kids, and reinforcing good behaviors before assessing that, like you need that little boost. That does make me feel better, because I don't know, just my uninformed stigma of it is like, oh, maybe part of the reason diagnoses have gone up is because just like doctors are incentivized to push pills and get kids on Adderall, which like I don't want to be true, but like that's definitely the first counterpoint. I haven't like gone to seek it out a counterpoint, but like that is a good counterpoint against that kind of mindset.
No, it's true. A lot of primary care doctors who are just like, family doctor are like, oh yeah, for sure. That sounds like ADHD. Here we go. And for an adult, it's like, like they can, I feel like that's a little bit more appropriate for an adult, but there's an issue with these primary care doctors who had probably the worst psychological training imaginable, especially when they're like 50, like they didn't give a fuck about psychology in medical school at that point. And it's still pretty bare minimum right now. Even the psychiatrists are getting trained, it's not as extensive. And I'm obviously very biased, but it's about medication pharmacology a lot of times now. And anyway, I went to an ADHD conference. Oh my God. I don't know if I told Eli this. I might've. Oh my God. So I went and presented my research, and it was in Orlando. First of all, I was like, all right,
that's cool.
Which was like, it was cool, but
it was at SeaWorld too, right?
Yeah, it was
oh my God.
I was like,
was
not
Shamu
the
there?
ADHD conference in SeaWorld, not where Shuka or Shamu is right
now.
That
would piss me off. Fuck SeaWorld.
I know. I did not walk in there. I was like, I'm not supporting this business. But anyway, they're going back next year, by the way. I was like, are you
back to back?
Wait, do we think that's just because like after all the bad pub that SeaWorld's gotten so long, like they'll take any business they can get?
Yeah, little PR campaign.
Because an ADHD conference at SeaWorld, like there's just two things you don't put
I want to see the
together.
flyer. There was a dolphin on that flyer. There was. I actually have to go, unfortunately, in like 13 minutes. So before I leave, we queued up some Adderall ADHD TikToks that Zach has that I would love to get your opinions on. I don't know which ones you want to play first, Zach. Just go for it.
I'll just go in order. And also we're going to come back to this conference. I want to learn more about the ADHD conference.
Yes.
Oh my God, y'all. You're going to be sure.
Right.
Save it for when Thomas Farley comes on, because he'll have a lot of thoughts. Thomas Finn, who's in here right now, Gabrielle is going to leave, but we have another Thomas who's coming in when he leaves. And then he also has ADHD. So
we love it.
It's perfect. He will be he helped us out a lot. I'll say that.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Right. Oh, is that showing the right thing?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Let's hear about this test.
This is great.
Let's see.
And also,
9 seconds.
This is what it's like to be known as dead. Now open up your eyes, you see the world that is red. Now what's the word, Captain? I think I caught you thinking.
What is that?
Okay.
What is that about?
It's like to be known as dead.
Also,
now,
the remix too. I love the sound.
Nice. I mean, that's clinical, right?
Very clinical.
I don't even get it.
I'm just like, who put that out there just to like get views? I just think it's like embarrassing, but also, all right, continue. That's just like I'm so cringed out by this.
Yeah.
Dude, ADHD is so fun and quirky.
Yeah, it makes me so quirky and weird.
I know. Yeah, that one. Wait, do you want my reactions after each one, or
Sure, yeah.
Well, that one, there's truth in some of them, but
with the whole
obviously,
Ritalin.
like,
let me shut this girl up real quick.
This one's great because this girl is talking about the shortage next, which I've had experience with the shortage. Zach hasn't had experience with the shortage.
oh yeah.
Okay,
they run out of Adderall in Bloomington like every day. So.
We'll get into that.
Stimulant shortage. I haven't had my medicine in the last 2 weeks. I finally got it yesterday, and today I took my first full dose for the first time in 2 weeks. So I took my booster half an hour ago, and I was starting to feel really uncomfortable. So I drank some lemonade and instantly feel a lot better. So if you happen to just accidentally take an extra pill because you forgot if you already took a pill, or you were taking your first dose,
Whoops.
That's normal for the first time in a long time because you are also experiencing the shortage, and you feel uncomfortable, here's a friendly reminder that vitamin C is your best friend. Stimulants are very alkaline, and the acidic nature of this, it will neutralize the effects of your stimulants. So yeah, you won't get your full booster dose, but also you won't feel like you're dying all of a sudden. So yeah, vitamin C, drink some orange juice if it's still within the hour of you taking the stimulant and you're feeling uncomfy. You're welcome.
Let me just say, she fit in so many words in that 52 seconds.
She did. She's
Holy
like, I have
shit.
ADHD. I'm gonna show you.
She was stimmed out right there.
Oh
for
yeah,
sure.
it worked. Yeah, you're mad.
Is that true though?
Yeah, that one's true.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Okay. I know only because I feel like my doctor told me, like, don't take OJ or don't drink OJ if you don't want it to like decay faster or whatever. And I'm like,
Interesting.
so I feel like there's some truth to that. But I haven't looked up the evidence on that, so don't quote me.
Was she wearing a wig in that video?
I don't think so, dude.
I think just her hair.
I was starting to feel really uncomfortable.
I think, yeah, I mean, it looks like that's a legit hairline and everything.
Terrible.
All right, and last.
I get why you would think that though.
Yeah.
Yeah, last one. Women with ADHD.
That's every woman.
And this, by the way, is on a page that sells ADHD medication.
Incredible.
Get out. Okay. So
Yeah, done ADHD.
Sales. They're just
I can't stop smoking cigs.
Damn, so she is like polar opposite. She's like polar opposite of the quirky ADHD girl.
She's sad girl.
Okay,
right.
That like, okay, why would you go and post all your struggles online? That's just a whole part of society I don't get.
Well, that was marketing from it's called Done ADHD, which is, I really wanted to find the videos of like the TikTok doctors that were popping up like a couple months ago that were like,
I can't take it.
oh, do you have ADHD? Fill out this form in 10 minutes and we'll send you pills. But I think a lot of those got taken down. So now it's just like weird stories, tests, and whatever we just watched.
What do you think about this type of marketing that she was doing?
I don't like it because I don't know, it kind of ruins ADHD, first of all, because it's like it can apply to everybody. Like everyone, addiction, of course, people with ADHD are, there's a prevalence of addiction. Because, for dopamine and reward, but it's like all these things a lot of women have experienced in their lives from one way or another. It could be due to ADHD, it could be due to something else. So it doesn't like make it really clear that it's due to ADHD. Does that make sense?
What were the symptoms she went over? She said
body image, like feelings of low self-worth.
I feel like you said, a lot of young women deal with that.
I feel like a lot of humans deal with that.
Yeah.
Like, who doesn't feel those things sometimes?
I'm depressed sometimes.
I mean, is self-harming a symptom of ADHD, like wanting to?
ADHD is comorbid with like depression.
Self-harm is like general psychopathology, like overall. That's not really a different.
Yeah, they're like listing a bunch of different symptoms that can apply to a lot of different things, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so that's the issue that I have with that, because it's like, all right. And the other thing too is like, so I do have a little beef with school psychologists because they're just like diagnosing, like they want to diagnose because they want to make people's lives easier at school. And I think it's great, but most of their job is just like testing and stuff like that. And I don't know, I have like a friend who I love, but she's like very like, that kid needs to be on meds. And I'm like, does he, and I'm like, can you just be a little kid who's like 6 and be kind of hyper?
Right.
I just feel like we need to adjust the school system to accommodate for people who learn differently and who can't sit down. I have a client who just like gets up all the time, and it's like during school, and he's 7. It's disruptive, but it's like, and his parents are very like, I don't want him on meds. And I think that's you can reinforce it in different ways. I'm eating this chicken, so I'm like,
it's all good.
Fine.
But that takes me back to what you said earlier. And I also love what you said about just like different education, not like the one size fits all education, especially for little kids. But a lot of what you mentioned with possible symptoms of little kids, like with boys running around, acting crazy, screaming, which is stuff all kids do. And then with little girls, like just the messiness, daydreaming, forgetting about things, also something that just little girls and little boys do. Like they're both symptoms for boys and girls. That's just kids.
Yeah. And and a lot of it could really just depend on, this is kind of like chicken and egg thing. For kids to like learn anything in life, they need their parents to be involved. And it could be that their parents are involved in some way, and it can be resolved through like a behavioral intervention. So it's like, oh, my kid is so disorganized, but it's like the parents are really busy and stuff like that. So maybe they don't have ADHD like the kids, but maybe the parents just haven't taken the time to like help out with certain behaviors or reinforce behaviors correctly. But ADHD is also really heritable. And so it could be the parent has ADHD and isn't reinforcing behaviors, and the kid actually has ADHD. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a weird thing. But you don't want to overdiagnose. It's actually very interesting, like what kids, I read a couple papers about children with ADHD and like just like their narrative kind of experience on being on medication. It's really sad. Like a lot of kids hate being on ADHD meds. Like the side effects fucking suck. Like it messes with their sleep. Like I can take 10 milligrams of Adderall at 7 a.m. and I'm not sleeping that night. Like as I'm very sensitive to that personally. And a lot of kids are as well. And they just want to keep increasing those doses with children too.
Yeah, it's crazy. Hearing about people being on like more than 25 milligrams extended release, that's like too much.
Oh yeah. No, there are children that take the same amount of ADHD medication that I take now.
Nuts,
dude. Well, I'll always bring it back to, we have a friend who in 2nd grade was taking 70 milligrams of Vyvanse a day.
That's more.
And his metabolism has been fucked up for the rest of his life. I won't name him, but Thomas, you know who I'm talking about. And like that doctor should be, like persecuted for that, because that's insane.
That's Vyvanse is like stronger than Adderall. Like, I mean, if anyone's taken Vyvanse before, it's like laser.
Is it chemically different than the dextro or amphetamine? It is?
Yeah,
okay.
It's dextrofenadate. It's related to amphetamines, but not methylphenidate. So it's like Adderall like tweaked up with like a little magic dust in there.
It's like the CBD, or like it's like the THC shatter, like the wax version of
It's like an ADHD, it's like a dab kind of thing. So it's very,
a dab pen.
Yeah, it's seriously like an Adderall dab vibe. So it's, my sister takes Vyvanse. And she has like no appetite. Like she took Adderall first, and then she switched to Vyvanse, and she really liked it. But on Vyvanse, she can't even like eat. It makes her like nauseous. So like this meal affects her like so. She's like, I can't even eat like a piece of anything. And so these kids, there's issues with children. They don't want to eat because they're obviously, and it's not because they don't want to. It's because they just don't. They can't. Because like when you don't want to eat, and it's just like, as an adult, you're like, I cannot eat another. But
dude, forcing food down, especially like if you have Adderall in your system, if you're not on a regular eating schedule, can be tough. Like that's one thing you have to be so on top of, or else it just like fucks.
Yeah, I have to remember to eat breakfast sometimes, because I'll catch myself. It'll be 12 o'clock, and then you get the headache because you have no food in your system. And then I drink coffee for breakfast, and I'm like, that's probably not.
Oh, dude. Your system's the exact opposite of mine. I won't take Adderall in the morning unless I have breakfast first, like a decent sized one.
Yeah.
And then I for a while, like I had to train my body to eat lunch at a certain time, which I can eat a decent sized lunch now. But like I eat at least 3 full meals a day, even when I take my Adderall. I don't take much. It's on the days I do, it's 20 milligram IR. But it took me a while to get there. Like there's some days where I would eat breakfast and take it and not eat again until like 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't feel good when that happens.
Oh, yeah.
I have to quickly go here in a second, but I'll just quickly bring up the shortage before I head out. So I have 2 prescriptions, one for 10 milligrams extended release, 10 milligrams instant release. I'm supposed to take the instant release in the afternoon, but I never do. I just take one or the other. And I prefer the instant release because I find that it like kind of winds down at the end of the day. But I've been on extended release the past month because there's really a shortage everywhere. It seems like CVS can't find one. Express Scripts, which is a nationwide pharmacy delivery, they have it back ordered. So I know Zach really hasn't had that experience, but for me, it's been kind of upset. And if I didn't have that second prescription, I really would be screwed. And
I know.
I'm sure I'd be fine. Like I could definitely work without it, but I definitely wouldn't be happy, and it would cause a lot of issues. And on that note,
can they just not make it fast enough? Or like what's the fucking deal?
I don't know. I think it is the demand. I think it is.
Right,
there's got to be something with the processing that is going wrong. I don't know what it is, but I know they can't keep up. In Bloomington, I've never had this problem. In Michigan, I've had to go on back order like 2 times since I've been here, and it's like fucking crazy.
Interesting, because I live in Indianapolis and I've never had an issue. Actually, no, there's one time where they gave me amphetamine salts as opposed to Adderall.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah.
It's the same thing. Okay. I just noticed the label on the script was different, but I've never had an issue here with that. It's always, I just kind of click the button on my doctor website and then the drugs are there a couple hours later.
Yeah, I think it's like pharmacy specific sometimes too. Like you can literally go next door to a different pharmacy and they're like, oh yeah, dude, we got plenty of Adderall.
I know. Yeah, CVS can't keep it in stock. And maybe it's because most of the college students are using CVS because their parents use CVS at home or something like that.
Yeah.
And that could just be it. I have no idea, but it has been an issue here. And I'm not sure why, but it's been annoying and frustrating because it could really somebody's life for a couple weeks, Yeah.
I'm gonna piss real quick. Farley should jump on when he does jump on. Maybe Zach or Gabrielle just give like a quick intro to who you are, and then we have to hear like Thomas Farley's doctor stories is pretty good, but I'll be right back. Hold on.
Nice and great timing as well. And I did want to ask about. Wait, I had it written down here. Oh yeah, I was going to tell you about when I actually got prescribed a couple years ago. I'll wait till Thomas Farley connects just so he can and give you a minute to eat your food too.
Perfect. Hello,
Thomas Farley.
How are we?
Up? Eli just went to rock a piss real quick. This is Gabrielle. She works with Eli, getting her doing her PhD program as well. She studies ADHD specifically.
Okay, yeah. It's an important field of study. I definitely have it. So
Oh yeah. Yeah, we're just talking about how I also have it, and that's why I want to study it.
Yeah.
And that's the gist. Yeah, and I just did therapy with Eli like a half hour ago too, so I know Eli.
I'm not sure if I have it. Because I just haven't really tried for. I just know Adderall helps, but yeah, it was 2020 when I was working remote. So I'm in sales for an IT company, and when before the pandemic, we were in office 5 days a week. Then we just flip flopped to working from home for like 6 months. So it was definitely different. So I went to a doctor, and the first time, just did a normal checkup. And at the end of it, I was like, hey, sometimes for work, I'm in a sales job. It's based on performance. I'll take my buddy's Adderall. It's 15 milligram IR, and it really seems to help. Can you write me a script? He's like, well, we typically don't like to just, kind of give them out. What I'll do, I'll start you on extended release and then, see how you like that for a little bit. And he just gave me a script. Like I check in with him every 3 months, and that was cool. So there's that guy. And then at the beginning of this year, he left that doctor's office, and he was a younger guy too. I would probably peg him at like 33, maybe, if I had to guess. And I got a new doctor who's definitely a little bit older. And I went in because I need to get my script refilled. I sent in a request and he didn't approve it immediately. He said he wanted to see me instead. And I just told him basically the story that I just told you guys, minus the, hey, I just, I take these drugs from my friend and they work for me. But he was like, okay, I want you to get, consult with one of these psychologists and actually get diagnosed with ADHD. And then I'll keep filling your prescription. Granted, that was at the beginning of the year. I'm actually supposed to have that appointment next Wednesday, and I haven't seen that psychiatrist yet. But he has refilled it since then. But just like obviously 2 pretty different approaches. Kind of what are your thoughts on that? And where do you land with that too? Especially with someone like my age.
Well, I would say it's just, I guess the proof is, or like doctors are different. They have different approaches. Some is like, you know what, you're going to get a hold of it somehow. You might as well just have your own prescription. And if it's going to help you and you're saying this is helping you, that's fine. Adderall is used not just for ADHD, it's used for chronic fatigue. It's used for binge eating disorder. It's used for a lot of different things outside of ADHD too. because obviously it helps with like appetite and you feel more energized, among other things. But they are very conservative. There are a lot of doctors being more conservative because there's all this abuse potential for Adderall, obviously. But it creates a problem because, they want people, especially like adults, they want you to have like the highest amount of ADHD possible to like get an Adderall prescription. They want you to be more severe. But there are some people who are like, it's, if it's helpful for you as an adult, especially because you can kind of like say, yeah, this is helping me and this is my quality of life has gone up. I have impairment in work or in my social life or personal life outside of this. I don't know. I think that there's a psychiatrist at IU right now that is in the counseling center. And I saw him and I have an ADHD diagnosis. I have all my paperwork. I was like, hey, I need a doctor. So can you keep up my prescriptions? He said no, because I'm in grad school and he says people with ADHD don't make it to grad school. So wow. I was like, all right. I said, first of all, I was very offended. Yeah, he was really rude. He's really
he's like, wait a minute, how do you exist?
So I was like, what the fuck? It was very annoying. So there's that. And I was like, oh, he really went to bed that night and was like, I really helped somebody. I just helped not get an Adderall prescription out there because they're just gonna, gonna hand it out to all their friends at IU, whatever. And I'm like, bro, that's the problem. When people are too stingy, it makes it difficult for people who actually need it for some reason or another to get it. But then the people who, there's also a problem with doctors who are like, whatever, I don't know if that answered your question, but that's just like, those are just
it did. And I just thought it was interesting that I got two doctors that are literally at complete opposite sides of the spectrums. One was like, yeah, sure, take your drugs, whatever, we don't care. And one's like, well, let's do this a little bit more by the books. So it's interesting.
Yeah,
that's
just to cover his bases.
That's so funny that he
was
like,
shop your doc.
Right. He was like, people in grad school, people don't have ADHD in grad school, or you basically don't get into grad school if you have ADHD when you're like sitting right there. Like, what are you doing?
Well, his logic was you didn't have enough academic impairment to get a diagnosis to begin with. And I was like,
that's not
very smart. I was like, I don't know, like I'm smart. I figured out how to do school without like doing a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it's not going to work for me in grad school. And I did not have medication in undergrad, but when I did take it illicitly, obviously, that was like I got like A's when I didn't,
That's so funny.
But yeah, it was really annoying. I was really pissed.
Have Farley and Gabrielle been introduced? Did I miss any of that?
Yeah,
okay, cool. So I know we still have Scumbag of the Week, and what else do we have? A BattleBots update.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about BattleBots a little bit. Yeah, do you fuck with BattleBots?
Well, I told her about like we had the last Scumbag of the Week was BattleBots and yada yada yada. But before we get into that, Farley, do you want to give a little like ADHD story of your own and like your opinion on it before we go into Scumbag of the Week? You don't have to. You can save it.
Yeah, I can definitely do that. I mean, I'm dyslexic as well. So definitely not a neurotypical as some of the fascists are. I call Adderall Chatterall.
Yes, he does.
And I feel like it should be over the counter, honestly. Maybe not in like high doses, but kind of like a $50, Plan B type situation. I think that would be effective because it benefits a lot of people in a lot of different ways. I don't think everybody should have access to the medication at any time they want, but there are situations where anyone can really benefit from it as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the good point there is that people, if they want their kid to get an ADHD diagnosis so they can get extra time so that they can get their rich people can make that happen for their kids. So
my favorite thing was the TikTok ads where, you'd scroll TikTok and then it was like, get Adderall in 90 seconds.
Oh, yeah. They're like,
you have ADHD. Those were, they just went to like a court because apparently that was targeting, and that company is no longer allowed to prescribe drugs, but for a while there, it was
shocker.
Damn. They got him.
And I think what's the statistic? I think almost like what is it? Like 1 in 6 people are on Adderall nowadays.
Yeah, really? I didn't know that.
It's something like
look at that dog.
So.
That's Boomer.
I think dog Adderall is coming soon. I think Zach.
Dog Adderall.
I think Zach, you could probably get Adderall for Boomer and then just take it yourself.
He would need a giant fucking dose, dude. Big boy. Well, thank you for giving us let's pick your brain on that.
Yeah.
Anytime.
All right. So for scumbag of the week, so this is going to be not a little bit different one, but it's, if I were to classify, it's scumbag of the week ? Because there's two main players in this. So I want to get your guys' take on who's the actual scumbag, or maybe if they're both scumbags. So I'll start sharing here with this story. It is about a YouTuber, someone who runs a prank YouTube page.
Oh my God.
So
I hate these guys.
So I'll just read a little bit. Tanner Cook, a YouTuber who uploads videos for his channel, Classified Goons, was shot Sunday while filming a prank
Great
video.
name.
Classified Goons. So he was shot.
Shot?
Yeah, he was shot.
Oh shit! Not like video, like shot.
No, with a gun. The incident occurred at the Dolestown Center Mall in Sterling, Virginia. Cook, 21, frequently posts content in which he and his friends play pranks on people. He tried pulling one on Alan W. Coley, 31, but was met with gunfire. The one, I guess London with the U, County Sheriff's Department said in a press release that Cook, who was shot in the abdomen, was transported to a local hospital. The agency declined to provide additional information about the incident. Cole is charged with aggravated malicious wounding, blah, blah, blah. He was arrested. And this is a quote from the guy. And this is him, by the way, just some context. I was playing a prank and a simple practical joke. And this guy didn't take it very well. He did not immediately respond to the request to comment. And then I think his dad.
Is there a video of the
shooting? Not of the shooting, but there's some other videos on here. He also says he plays pranks on Target store workers, Uber drivers, mattress store employees, and others. Let's see. This guy was unaware that he's being pranked and shot in self-defense. So I'll stop right there, get initial thoughts. Seems like kind of an overreaction, right?
My initial thought is, what a failure of the cameraman. If I'm pulling a prank and all of a sudden someone pulls out a gun, you better keep rolling, at least at a minimum.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
That's
a good point.
Yeah.
I think the real scumbag of the week is the cameraman, personally.
That could be the right answer to all this, because I'm going to show more stuff in a minute. That could be the right answer. Spoiler alert.
I mean, I kind of am. I think the YouTube prankster thing that ship has sailed like 6 years ago or so. So I'm fucking tired of that stuff. And if you're going to be an idiot and try to like prank me, especially in an aggressive way, and don't expect to be met with at least like gun flashing, then you're an idiot. So I'll see where the rest of this goes.
All right. So I'm going to pull up his YouTube page now.
Okay.
So we're going to take a look at class.
Oh, wait. I have another question. I've never heard of this guy. Is this like a popular YouTuber? Like, is he?
I mean, he has 40,000 subscribers. I had never heard of him prior to this. This might be one of those things though. Okay. I will say, on the articles, it says he has 41,000 subscribers. It's jumped up 3,000. So it could be going back to what we were talking about with
that
Trump,
shooting bump.
the arrest,
you get a bump.
the getting arrested, the shooting. It increases the street cred.
Yeah,
this might be the best thing that ever happens to him. So I'm just gonna play a little bit, just so we can kind of see who this guy is.
Corbin, he's got my footage. He needs to delete it right now.
Oh, he's pranking his own
You need to delete
camera.
that footage right now, bro. Don't do that.
Hey, don't do it. Hey, no. It's not worth it.
You not see him sitting there.
We're going to fix it. Buddy, we're going to fix this.
This guy kind of bothers me.
Back up, bro.
You think this is funny? I've had enough of you.
Oh my God, he's such a
This guy seems like an escalator.
What's the issue?
All right.
Without like nuance, like some of the really good prankers, like I don't know if you guys
These
have heard
poor
of Lo-Fi.
employees. Oh
That's
my
what I'm saying. This one's even worse.
All right, Courtney. That's your name,
Yeah.
Courtney. What day is this for you? Oh, you work here?
Hey, something I can help you out with at all?
Push your hand.
No, I'm good.
All right, so here's the deal. I've been always wanting to do like a fake employee prank. I'm gonna go to Target.
All right. I guess that part's not important. But I mean, when I saw these, I was like, oh, I kind of don't blame the guy that shot him.
Oh, I would have.
I kind of.
Okay, I don't know if I would escalate it, but
It's an overreaction.
I would have been pissed. I don't know what he did to the guy. What did he do to him?
Yeah, I mean,
we need the video.
apparently he was in his
Them?
face. So actually, this next article will shine a little bit of light on that.
Okay.
So
see
this, because all the articles I was seeing was just showing, I mean, just kind of what happened. This one was the guy was quoted. I think it might be. Hold on. Let me see if because there's one quote from his dad that made me laugh pretty hard. Let's see. Oh yeah, Cook's father, Jeremy Cook, said the YouTubers were just trying to have fun and the shooting was unnecessary. There was a phone around him and they were just interviewing or talking to him, and he didn't like, and he pulled out his gun and shot my son. So apparently this guy, they were just talking to him and he got shot. So here has a little bit of perspective from his defense attorney, which is good.
Those two people.
Which again makes you think maybe just everyone's the scumbag of the week here.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, he was critically shot. Let's see. Okay, public defender argued it was Cook who antagonized the suspect, much like his other prank videos, much like the subjects in his other videos. They became irate. Detective Katie Mitchell of the London County Sheriff's Department took the stand. She said Cook was playing the phrase "I think you smell" on the phone using Google Translate. So here's the part where
that got him.
I kind of feel bad. So Mitch said Coley, the guy who shot, was at the mall picking up food for DoorDash. Told Cook to stop several times and tried to walk away. Despite swatting the phone away from his face, she said Cook persisted.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, apparently he was close to 6 inches away when he pulled a gun out of his vest. He was targeted, harassed, blah, blah, blah. That's pretty much the gist of it. Bail
Kind of feel
here.
bad.
I know, dude.
If he had like anger problems and he was trying to get away and he was trying to make it not escalate, then I don't know. I think, and also, what if he really did smell? Really got to him. I feel bad about that too.
Yeah, so, totally smell. I mean, okay, this guy looks like he doesn't smell great. Let me just, if we're just gonna call a spade a spade, the guy
got to him.
Like he smells phenomenal. Like I can kind of imagine what that guy smells like in my head.
Dude, also the hospital picture of like, dude, come on, that guy. Oh, that's the worst kind of guy.
We need a video.
I wonder if the video hasn't been released because of like legal reasons, but there's got to be a video. There has to be a video of it.
Yeah, that, or I could see the only reason why there maybe wouldn't be is if he pulled out the gun and his cameraman immediately like put the phone out. I was like no, like this isn't what it is. Blah blah. I could start like freaking out.
Yeah, maybe.
But again,
that's the thing to do in that case. Like,
yeah, that's the cameraman fucking up.
I mean, if you pull out a gun and there's a camera on you, I think you're less likely to shoot someone as well.
Wow, I really am leaning towards scumbag of the week as that cameraman.
Yeah,
I think Farley may have nailed it.
Damn. So I was, my pre-verdict to this was, I think they're both the scumbag of the week, leaning towards this guy. But honestly, I think Farley just uncovered the real truth.
Just got shot, guys. Subscribe.
Yeah, for real.
But I will say, like, yes, it was an overreaction. But I don't think the guy's entirely at fault. Like, I kind of don't blame the guy.
I
don't blame the guy either, especially
he's trying to leave
videos.
Yeah. This article is also saying that Cook, the actual YouTuber, might face some charges as well. Probably won't be as severe as the guy who shot him. But that's what the public defender was arguing too.
Oh shit. Interesting. Huh.
Yeah. So for that, I mean, and I was planning on saying something else, but for that, Tanner Cook's cameraman is the scumbag of the week for not getting the video of him getting shot.
Consensus.
Motherfucker.
Yeah. Unreal.
Yeah. So before BattleBots, because you're gonna have to give a little preamble, Zach, and like explain the BattleBots thing for Farley, and I sort of explained it for Gabrielle. Before that, Tom, do you have a tip of the week?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. And so real quick, Gabrielle, every week we have an episode. Farley comes on at least at the end, if not earlier, and gives a tips with Tom, because since I met this kid my freshman year of college, he would always have Snapchat videos in different stages of inebriation where he'd give us tip of the day or tip of the week. So, and they range from like actual valuable insight in life to just nonsense. So what is it this week, Thomas?
Let's hear it.
Yeah, guys, we got an episode of Tips with Tom. This week, the tip of the day is the early bird gets the worm, but the second mouse gets the cheese. Sometimes, guys, you got to be patient, learn from other people's mistake, be strategic, and, go after what you want when the time is right.
Wow, but the second mouse gets the cheese.
Yeah.
And he came up with this. We were skiing in Colorado last weekend. I remember it was because this is relevant to like ski the second half of the day, because it's way less crowded and it's nicer weather most of the time.
That was it. Yeah, I pulled up around noon exactly. You know, I missed all the traffic getting up there, and I got basically the best parking spot you could get for free. And you know, I was like, yeah, you could wake up at 5 a.m. and try and beat the traffic, and you know, and walk 3 miles away.
I'd be tired by 9 a.m.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
You miss, you know, one groomed run, basically.
That's someone like that's enough people thinking, hey, I'm going to get up enough early enough for this so I can beat the traffic, and that becomes the norm. Keeps pushing that back, and then you guys show up at a recent hour, and that just big brains the whole situation.
Big brain, just big brain it.
That's galaxy brain for sure.
I heard it's like that in Colorado all the time though. Like it's so hard to like get to the hill because it's so crowded and traffic's so bad.
Oh yeah, it can be horrible.
Unless you leave at like what 11:30, like I did, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that being said, Zachy T, give us a little battle bot.
Yeah, we'll round off with some battle bots.
Oh my god, I can't.
Bots is robot fighting.
Is there gambling on this?
So not yet, because what it is they pre-record the season and just air the episodes week by week. So here's an example of one. They're about 250 pounds. They go 2 robots into the ring. One comes out alive. You can either win by knockout or by decision after a 3-minute timer. And that's if, you know, after all the fighting, both bots can still drive around, or, you know, obviously if you knock the shit out of one and it can't move anymore, then that's a knockout.
Love the props that they have.
Oh yeah.
Couple questions.
Yeah. Hit me.
So is there like kind of a budget for your
Great question.
Yeah.
So there's not a budget cap, but
no budget cap. Well, this is clearly
no
just a game of money then.
that I'm aware. But the thing is, there's not too much, not a shit ton of money coming in, because a lot of these are guys like, so this is a bad example, but a lot of these are just like college students and stuff, and they go by sponsors.
Except for that middle guy.
No, this middle guy was the scumbag of the week last week, actually. So fuck this guy. So him and his dad, basically a high level of that is he claims that he cured autism. His son had autism, has autism through mostly like diet and like holistic eating. And that's how he got the money to pay for this robot. So that's
by scamming people into like buying into his autism cure, basically.
Yeah. But guys like this, I mean, this is just a team of Brazilians. I actually really like these guys. They can barely speak English, but they have a really, really solid robot. These guys are definitely just relying on sponsors. Like a lot of these guys like are cheap or broke college students. These robots cost anywhere from like in the tens of thousands, possibly close to 100,000, but like give or take. And so a lot of that's covered by sponsors and stuff.
Wow.
I mean, I would just throw a Cybertruck in there, you know.
Well, there's a weight limit. They can't be more
than
250 pounds. Okay. There's other divisions and stuff. So, okay. So for this, I'll actually get into, because I have some highlights for the main event fight this week. So basically on the fight card, we have each robot has one more fight before the playoffs start. And the headliner this week is a robot, 2 of my favorite robots, 2 heavy hitters, Hydra, driven by this guy, Jake Ewert, who's a flipper bot. That thing flips. Yep. And then Sawblaze by Jameson Go, the main guy in the middle, who's basically just super solid robot with a saw hammer, essentially. So
wow. I'll
show both their heights. They're both pretty fucking funny. Oh yeah, this one starts out by him just like flipping a washing machine. I bet. Holy shit. Pretty sick, right?
Yeah, I like that.
Is it cool to kind of be doing something that's unique and pushing?
So this is a little bit different because he's one of the few flipper bots.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the fucking.
Good news. It's no longer untested and unproven. You did that and you got the win. How do you assess your performance?
It's a whole production, dude. Because I'm supposed to keep fucking solid.
So that robot's the only one that flips.
There's a couple other flipper bots, but he's the most proficient one for sure.
Oh yeah.
So a lot of the robots are categorized like by the type of weapon they have. Either it's like a saw, a flipper, some to have different types of like wedges. That's kind of, or like spinners. That's kind of how they're categorized. And sometimes like, oh yeah, no, dude, I'm telling you, like this runs so deep. I'm so nerded out by it. So it's this guy who he's never won. Oh, and also the trophy that they fight for at the end of every season, it's called the Giant Nut.
It's literally just like a bowl or like a giant nut. It's absurd. Yeah.
So he's never won the giant nut. He always makes deep tournament runs. He actually lost in the semifinals, so the final four, and a split decision to the robot that ended up winning it all, which was it went down as arguably the most controversial decision in BattleBots history because it went down to the judges. So that robbed him at a shot at the championship fight. He is fighting Sawblaze, who I don't think Sawblaze has ever won either. I think they made it to the finals once. Sawblaze is just rock solid, just doesn't die and fucks robots up.
Oh,
yeah. He'll just gouge you and then just saw and just fuck up your robot's insides. Let's see some better shots. We're getting real like POV. And see, he can't even drive his robot. He's just kind of holding him there.
Sawblaze having none of it.
oh my God.
Oh yeah, he fucks him up.
I'd be so pissed.
Yeah, because you can't do anything about it. And like you guys, I mean, all these robots are built by hand, like by the team. So you're just going and you spend all this time doing it, and maybe like you just had some intense repairs for another fight, and then Sawblaze just comes in and fucks your robot.
And rams you too. Oh.
Yeah, so this could be like a championship preview.
Well, one thing's for sure, Jameson Go has the control.
So that's the main event. That's actually airing tonight. So it's not much of an update. I'll have more in the coming weeks especially when the playoffs start and we get the tournament seeding and everything. But I mean, hell, this fight could be the #1 overall seed. So BattleBots is about to start heating up, folks.
Can't wait.
Yeah,
I'd like to make a comment. I feel like the gambling season is over right now because like, what am I going to gamble on? Baseball?
Fuck that.
And this is something I would consider gambling on.
I would too. So the episodes are pre-recorded and they air later. However, this is the BattleBots Arena is in Las Vegas, and outside of just like the filming for the regular season, they do have fights like pretty much every week, just kind of more like exhibition fights and stuff. I don't know if you could go in and straight up like gamble on them, but like it's Las Vegas, you can gamble on anything.
Dude, there better be.
I think if they want to go mainstream and go big, they need to get involved in some gambling.
I agree. Like at the very least, start live streaming it on YouTube and get hooked up with a sports book so you can actually start betting on the fights. I couldn't agree more.
They really should. I just wonder, like, I mean, the logistics of the math for these sports books on something like that would be, I think, even harder than a lot of professional sports. Like, how do you set the line on BattleBots?
Dude, so you'd be surprised when going
you go like damage, just like
no. I mean, when going into fights, because they'll have the fight cards, you have a pretty good idea of who's going to win. To be honest with you, like some fights are going to be a toss up, and you can do other prop bets. It's going to be like really similar to UFC fighting because like, will the fight go the distance? Some fights with robots that are really known for being like less on the destruction side, more on like the durability side. That's very likely to go the distance. Whereas other ones who are just heavy hitters, like they have a couple good hits in them and then they're done. So it's either like they knock their opponent out or they get knocked out.
Yeah.
So you'd be surprised in how accurate, like a lot of times they could do like someone who there are a lot of guys that used to be in the sport. They're just kind of like around now. Like some of those guys would be good handicappers. I think it's more possible than you might realize.
I mean, the WWE just filed for to be on sports books as well. And that's like, factual outcome or like, like not even predictable outcomes, like predetermined outcomes.
Yeah.
So
I think are they not on already? I think they're on. I saw them on DraftKings.
Oh, they just filed, I believe, but maybe it was expedited and they have approval. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
that's so funny.
That's the difference between these. Is like the thing is like actually live streaming the fights they go because that's not how they do the TV series. But if you can figure out a way for people to actually watch them and bet on them, like because it's the outcome is far from determined before the fight begins. So you could absolutely gamble on it. So
thank God they better get that going.
I know, man. That's the next big step. So that's it. That's my BattleBots updates, guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, which one was the dad?
Say what?
Which one was the dad?
Oh, here, I'll show you.
I need to see him.
So where was Riptide. This is the dad right here. Oh wait, sorry, I'm not sure. This is the dad.
Yeah, and so
like,
the
guy cure for
autism.
autism.
His son right here.
He's like, look at my son's a prime example. I have the cure for autism.
Yeah, he cured his autism apparently, and we went into this in the last episode, but I mean, showed some interviews and stuff of just him kind of
He's-
interacting.
Did he like? How deep did he go? Like, did he have his kid like kind of like on purpose acting? You know.
No,
he's
definitely. I mean, the thing is, if you see him, like he's definitely autistic. Like he's definitely on the spectrum.
Okay.
Yeah, but according to this guy, he is 100% cured and normal.
With like
They're all
no
on the
evidence, no good evidence. Yeah, exactly. The BattleBot guys are all on the spectrum. Come
They
on.
for sure are to have such a niche hobby like that, you know.
Come on, they're just gamers. They're just
A lot of the
gamers at
times, they're
heart.
just like really
Are
smart
they?
kids from MIT that are just there's quite a bit of like robotics majors and like engineering majors and stuff, and then just like dudes that have been in the sport for a long time. The first sanctioned professional robot fight was 1987.
Wow.
I did a deep dive for
1987,
this for our last episode, kind of the history of robot fighting.
That's cool.
Yeah, because I've been nerding out on just the BattleBot show for the like last 2 years. So I fucking
And where's that produced? Is that produced on Spike or where do you do that?
Discovery.
Discovery.
So I just watch on YouTube TV.
Phenomenal.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'll honestly watch, like, especially Zach, if you remind us about when the finals are and stuff, I'll 100% watch that.
Yeah, they're on tonight at either 8 or 9. I'll text you which one it is.
Please do. I will
yeah.
tune in.
Yeah, they're legit, dude. It's entertaining TV.
And how far is it into the tournament right now?
So it's the tournament hasn't started. This is actually a great time to jump in because in the regular season, each robot fights 4 times and then they get seeded for the tournament. So this is their last regular season fight. So it'll probably be 2 episodes of their last regular season fights and then the tournament starts.
Shit.
Yeah.
Mm.
So that's it. But yeah,
Love
guys,
it.
I think we can probably wrap. Gabrielle, thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate it. It was
Anytime.
nice meeting you and talking with you and stuff.
I've never been on a podcast.
Well, this is a big one. This is probably going to get like tens of views. So
that's great. I like 10 is a lot of people.
It's more than
double
9.
digits.
More than 9.
I think we have a few triple digit views, and some of our clips go semi-viral. So
that's right.
Yeah. No, we
Really?
need to keep pumping out the shorts. Yeah, we have a couple shorts that are in the thousands, I think.
That's
yeah.
Well,
Wyoming is fake. I don't know if you guys
anytime.
saw this. I sent this to T Finn. The University of
Good app.
Wyoming just came out and said that Wyoming is indeed a fake place.
No way. What are you talking about?
Confirmed.
What? That's one of our shorts. I'll send it to Gabrielle.
I may be able to pull this up quickly.
Yeah, hold on. Try real quick.
I'm also fine with just going off that headline and not fact checking it because that fits our narrative perfectly.
Yeah,
Yes,
don't
exactly.
fact check.
The University of Wyoming has confirmed Wyoming is a fake place, and I would not go there.
You heard it here. You heard it here first, folks. Wyoming, fake as fuck. Appreciate you listening.
Fake as fuck.